Mark. I just had that in my hand. Patty Coleman.
I'm here.
Excuse me. Good?
You're up, girl.
Oh. I've been coming to the council this time every year for the last maybe 17 years since she was in school at the age of 34. West Hampshire Street. The bus this morning, as you know, we had a little skiff of snow. At the top of the Dundee down top of West Hampshire, it had a little coating of ice, and he had a little rough time up there by Harvey's house. So there's now 2 buses coming down West Hampshire Street for 2 special needs. One child has seizures, that's why she's riding the special needs bus, and of course my daughter. This will be her last year. But I just want to make sure we can keep on top of that, because just right past Sandy Ferguson's, Gary Hill, is that about where I'm talking about, Greg, where it goes up? It gets steeper at that one point, and then it pitches. I've had Susie check it out a couple years, and it's just at that one point, it gets steeper. It's almost like Kenny House. It's a steep, and it has a pitch to it. It veers to our side of the street, the right side if you're going up. Then also there at Benita McCrae's, years ago when we had the water lines redone or sewer, there's that curb that the water comes down on Gary and us, but when they park there, and if somebody else is on the other side of the street, it bottlenecks. When they had that house burning last couple weeks ago or something, they did a training, a fire truck couldn't get down there. So if there's 2 cars parked on between Benita McCrae's and up above Sandy and Jason Warner's, and before you get to Gwen's, now when you get to Gwen's house, it opens back up. But it's just that one little spot that bottlenecks. So I know
the grass comes up over, isn't it?
No, well there's yes, she's the only one that has grass on that side of the street.
Okay.
Because when they redid that street up there, Gary and Bev Hill opted to take their little patch of grass out so that they could park closer to their home, so they're not even on the road. Okay. But it's just like and her curb's like that high, 6-8 inches. So if she parks right, if whoever's visiting her parks right up on it, they can't open up the car door. So they park 6 to 8 inches away from the curb. And if somebody's across the street up above Sandy's, or what used to be Stewart's house, it really bottlenecks. I'm sure the guys know when they're plowing, if there's 2 cars on both sides of that street, it is a mess. You know, one time the bus coming down had to toot the horn and everything for them to come out and move the car to get down. So, but mainly making sure that's passable through there for the buses, because I sure would hate to have it covered. And the bus times are, the first bus runs about anywhere from I'll say 10 to 7. 5 after 7 is the first bus, and her bus comes at 8:20 to 8:30.
Yeah.
So that gives them the time. You know, I mean, I know we can't predict every time there's a squall or something that snow covers, but yeah, it does get bad up there, and we can testify to that last year because our Jeep got hit because the hill was bad, and they was coming down and they plowed into our Jeep, which pushed our Jeep into the garage door, and yeah, so, and it's right there at that spot. So, but he did say the top of Dundee and coming down this morning had some black ice.
You got that on?
So I thought I'd bring that like I have for the last 15, 16, however long she's been in school. So that's all.
We would have been on it a little early this morning,
Yeah.
but our salt truck was down again.
Right. Well, I figured that. That's what I told him. I said, you know, it happens. I said, the council meeting tonight, I'll just bring it to the attention. Because sometimes you never know when it comes up, you know.
It's the worst.
So,
As far as the cars, The only other thing I think we could do is
Snow emergency.
put it
Yeah.
in snow
One side.
emergency and they can only park on one side.
That would help you
That's-
guys
that's not-
plowing.
It's not on the snow emergency route?
No, mine is.
Yeah.
I'm-
Hers is.
Okay.
Up and down that
Ours is
hill.
Dundee Street. And the Gordon, was Dundee, Gordon,
Maybe we'll change the snow emergency
Harrison.
route.
Yeah, because like I said, if we would tested to that when they had that
Yeah, what's
house
the
burning,
other
you could
Fred
see
Aaron and Fred. What's that? Is that not Fred?
Frederick. No,
Frederick
I think it is Fredlock there. That
Where-
first hill by
Where Hirschbergers live.
yes,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
red lock.
that's Fredlock.
Fredlock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd just bring that up. That's all I have.
That road should be a snow emergency route because of the bus coming down. But I don't think it is.
No, it's not. Would you have time to be
Okay,
with me
Danny?
tomorrow and we'll go up there and see if it's...
Oh no, I'm not gonna stay long because it's gonna be time for her medicine.
Okay. I had
So,
what she was.
Yeah, wait a
That's my
minute.
turn.
Could you, Danny?
Can I add to what she was saying, Denny,
Yes.
for just a second?
Yes.
Absolutely. Where she's talking about, the city had some work done, had some curb work done right there, and it's in like, I think it's 113, I think is where it's at.
whatever Benita's address
Yes.
is, Bevan Gary's is 111. I
Kim
think
Matthews is one.
it used to be
Yes.
Amy Lee's.
Okay, gotcha.
You know where I'm talking
Right.
about? Or Foster's back in the
Maybe
day.
Foster used to
Yeah.
live.
Right
Yeah.
across from Kim Matthews.
And
Right.
that curb sticks out like this,
Yeah.
and if somebody parks there on that curb, it makes it hard, and Greg, you probably see it when you come
With your
down
truck
through there,
even.
especially in the wintertime, or anybody. But our concern, and my concern, Patty's concern, bus, of course, and the fire trucks.
Is there enough room on that street to make
There's
it
not.
parking on one side?
It's
Should be.
I think that's where I was gonna go.
Could you
I
get
think
with
we
me
ought to look at-
tomorrow and we'll take a look at
Well-
this and look at that curb?
Right there where
Yeah.
they're talking about,
Yep.
it swings around there by Paul and Patty's where their garage
Yeah, I know.
swings
Yes.
around. It gets real small there. The only thing that we can do is take the grass area out or take sidewalk out to try to widen it. But either way, we don't have the money for it. Okay?
Right.
I don't, this is something that, actually Gwen's daughter did a thing on that when she was taking engineering school in Potomac State. Her and her professor came up, redesigned that whole hill and everything. And whoever was in the town at that time said no.
They said no.
Yep, said no. So they did, I said, well,
Well, let me take a look at this area and get it in my mind.
well, yeah, it is, it's a horrible spot right there. And the only place that you got to go is his garage, their house, or Gary Hill's house.
Yeah. It missed that
That's-
car that hit
that's
our. It missed
Okay.
Bev's car by like inches. I took pictures of her
But, you know, it's
snow
been like that
tracks.
for
Yeah.
100 years that this town's been here. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what an answer would be right there because it
Yeah.
is a heck
But
of a
it didn't
turn.
always drop like that.
No, it wasn't always like it. The
Oh,
city,
it's been
the
like
city
that since day
15,
one.
20 years ago did some work there
Yeah. I
and moved
remember
and moved the
that.
curb out.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they moved it out like that.
Okay, I wonder who.
That's what happened. It used to
Okay.
be right over against. There's a drain there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a sewer there.
Yeah.
And why Carl Bell? That's who did the job. Kicked that out. That drain is sitting over here
Probably
in the
keep it
grassy
out so the
area.
water would come out and drop in.
Well, where the drain sits, it gets no water whatsoever because
The curb is 6
of
inches
the way
high.
the curb was put in. The curb was extended out. But my suggestion is that we limit the parking right there.
At least in the
I
winter
mean, that's the
time.
short term
give-
fix.
give
Limit
it-
the parking there. You can't park there.
But how?
I
can
mean,
you do
up
How
in
that?
many
Gwen's
cars
house,
is it?
yes, but
I
down
mean-
below there where that really kicks out.
From the telephone pole.
How many
Uh,
cars
do
is
that.
is
Well,
it?
you have 2 empty houses on that side since Sandy Ferguson has passed. So her house is empty, so nobody really would be living there to park. And then Tim Stewart's house, right beside Sandy, and before you get to Jason Warner, that house is empty. So there's several parking spots,
But
you know.
Well,
So
they're
Let me
looking
get
at
with-
the parking place in front of their house that they feel should be theirs.
right.
Right.
So I understand why they park down.
Oh,
there.
sure, but if they're not, if you're not all the way up against the curb,
So that means we'd have
You're right,
to
just a little bit of
furnish some
restriction.
kind of parking area, which there was a house there that Kim Matthews' mom and them had
Yeah,
toward in.
Hanlon's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's her driveway now.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the only other thing we could do is try to make parking up there for someone, but I don't know where. I mean,
Well, let me get with Paul in the morning. Right now is
well, the
a little
morning
bit.
noon would be a good time for me.
Well, it's
I
a
got
good
an
time for
appointment in
you,
the
but
morning.
I'd like to get with Paul in the morning, take a look at it. That way I can line up some resources we have available here in town right now, because this contractor working for the gas company will do pretty much anything I asked him. And if we need a little help, if that grassy area needs widened out, build up a little bit, they're hauling ton upon ton of stuff up here to the water plant daily. And I'm pretty sure he might help us out a little bit.
Well, the curb needs to be moved. That is the ultimate fix.
Let him
Like I
drive
say,
the snow
short
truck,
term.
it'll be moved.
There you go. But a short-term fix is just to limit the parking there. You have to park on the other side.
Come down and
Not
get with
there.
me in the morning and we'll go up there and take a look at it. And then I'll talk to these guys out here and see what kind of help they might be willing to give us. I got the key to their bulldozer anyhow.
Okay. Alright. Okay, Danny.
Okay, I just wanted to mention, because it hasn't gotten mentioned here since September, about the water, our water situation, and that what hasn't been mentioned is the Savage River, that there was a bunch of offers of help at that public hearing from Pat and John Amoroso and Marcus Clay to try to walk the old water line and see what was there, and what had been installed, because there has been some work done on it apparently. I found some history about it myself. And that was one of the big items that was discussed that night, September 25th, which is now 5 weeks ago. And a lot of us are wondering still what's going on with that, because we would like to see the Savage River water reconnected and not go to the Potomac permanently. That's been a temporary thing that's been done for almost 20 years from what I found. That, 30, I believe that. I found back 20, I'll finish and then you can have, as long as you want, I just want to put my piece in. That we were going to walk the water line and see if the pipe was there and a number of things like that. And now since they've done some water testing and found that there's seepage coming out in the Potomac by the mill, we should be especially concerned, because it seems like our water supply isn't really safe there.
Not just
That
for
there's a Kingsford plant there, there's the mill, and there's still mine drainage that's an issue in the Potomac. So we have mercury, arsenic, and chemicals like that in the Potomac that we won't find in the Savage. The Savage is a pretty pristine water source. It'd be a wonderful, safe water source, and I think we all would prefer it. So since we seem to have gone away from this emergency mode about the water increase, we should really be focusing on that Savage River reconnection rather than any kind of temporary or other connection over to the Potomac. And so that was just the part I wanted to say, and then you can address that during your water report or whenever you like, but I just wanted to say it first because it hasn't showed up on the agenda or anything, and we missed a meeting last time when there were a lot of things. Oh, and I see you're considering not having the meeting next week, next time. What we used to do in the holidays is have it a day early.
You're jumping the gun now.
Oh, so that is one of the choices.
No,
Well, that'd be nice, because
we
we're just concerned because you canceled it last time, and there are plenty of things going on that justify having meetings every 2 weeks. That we shouldn't be skipping meetings right now, especially with things like the water being an issue, and there's lots of things. If anybody's having trouble coming up with items to talk about, ask me.
It's
There's
not
plenty
having
of
trouble
things.
with stuff to come up with. We don't have answers right now.
Well, we don't have to have answers, then we need to have more discussions. You have more you have people in town that are willing to volunteer information. We should have another big water hearing.
Are they going to put the money up for it too?
What money?
Funding to do the work.
Well, let's
Yeah.
discuss
That's
that
what
too.
we haven't heard from. Our
But
funding
let's
sources.
not wait till we hear from that to have a plan. Let's start our
We
plan
have
now.
a plan.
We have a plan.
But you haven't shared it with us.
With
We don't
Potomac,
really,
it's a plan, and
we
we
don't
don't
know
like
the
the
plan.
Potomac.
We come to every meeting and we haven't heard a plan. So we need to hear a detailed plan. I think there should be a public hearing again. We need to have a public water discussion, maybe at a 5:30 before a meeting, when the public can come in, and Pat and John and whoever else, Marcus, can come in, and we can continue that discussion that we started in September, because that's very important, and we just dropped it. It's been like almost 2 months since that.
It hasn't
It
been
hasn't
dropped,
been
Danny.
But,
It has not
it's
been
been dropped as far as the public is concerned. And I'll remind you one more thing, and then I'll yield the floor. that there is something called the Open Governmental Proceedings Act. And one of the main things it says in the West Virginia Code is that your job as public officials is not to decide what the public should know and not know. So when you say that there's no new information, we need to know that, and we need to know what information you've gotten so far, who you've contacted, what emails you've been sending people. That's all public record, and that's all information you'd be sharing with us. You should be sharing with us, and not deciding when you have good news, you'll tell us about it. But that's what the Open Governmental Proceedings Act says, is that you share all information with us, whether it's good or bad news. And we need to know the bad news too. How can we help solve these problems if we don't know what the bad news is? How can we help with the Piedmont financial issues if we don't know how much money Piedmont owes? No one ever says how much Piedmont owes and how far behind we are on our payments on all our various debts. We haven't had a financial report in a long time. Our financial officer hasn't come to a meeting since she was sworn in. These are all important things that we need to do something about.
I'm
So
the
I'm done.
financial.
I've taken
I'm
my
the
time.
financial.
Well, Dawn was the financial officer, and somehow that got switched to you, and she's never showed up
But
in the
nobody
meeting.
said anything at the meeting, or who's the new
No,
financial
there
manager, or
wasn't a
somebody
new
is.
appointment made. So there's a lot of things you guys are doing that you're not sharing with us, and that really could be considered a violation of the Open Governmental Proceedings Act. And that's a serious civil violation. It's not, we're not messing around here. I don't want to file a
No, I'm
thing
good.
like that, but we could. And the fact that we could means that you're not doing your job right. And so I don't want to do that, but I would rather you did your job right and put all the information on the table for all of us to see, instead of saying, we're working on it and we'll tell you about it when we have something. Because that's not what the Open Governmental Proceeding Act says your job is. So I'm done. Thank you. That's all I have.
Everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
A second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Correspondence. The Region 8 Planning and Development Council will not meet during the month of November 2019. And that's all it says. No signature on it. A letter from Thermodyne. We at Thermodyne Engineering, a water treatment solutions provider, believe in excellence. That's why I am making trips to West Virginia water treatment plants this fall. I would be honored to have an opportunity to meet with you, tour your plant, discuss your treatment issues and chemical needs. We specialize in collagen, polymers, and corrosion inhibitors. We work closely with our current customers in the region so they have confidence in our product and in us. I look forward to meeting you in the future. Aaron Mudd, Thermodyne. Would you like me to read the letter you wrote as correspondence? Is that why you have correspondence?
I intended that, but then you canceled the last meeting.
I was
That's-
here.
You were here,
I came.
but you said the meeting was canceled.
It was, but then
So-
you sent here, there is no valid reason for canceling next week's meeting. We expect to see you at the city building at 6
Oh,
p.m.
that's my opinion.
Well, then
And
they
of course, I
couldn't-
said my opinion.
And
Does that
I
make
did
a city
show up.
meeting happen?
Well, they didn't.
Who else
post
showed
it,
up?
they didn't
It
post
wasn't
it.
posted.
Oh,
There
yes,
was no
Ernie was
meeting.
here.
Didn't
There
say
There
was
was
it.
no
no-
meeting, but I came.
Well, then she
because
let
I
us
thought
know
you would
by
be here.
Facebook or the city.
When
Okay.
it said I expect you to be here,
Okay.
I did show up.
Okay, well, but I don't just order you to show up at a
Well,
meeting
that's
that
how
you
it
canceled.
sounded. We expect to see you.
Okay, I'll be more careful how I word things like that
I'm
in the
just saying,
future.
and I did show
But
up.
that was worded.
And I took a video of the clock.
That was worded to mean that don't cancel the meeting. Please have the public meeting and don't announce it
No,
canceled.
but you could have
You
been
announced
called.
it canceled, so there was
You could
no
have been
meeting.
called or sent an email that you would be here to discuss it.
I know.
And you can't just,
I know. So you don't have to read it. I said some of those points
Yeah.
earlier today. So
No, I just
and
wanted
I'll bring
to
you a list every week
I don't
if
want
you
to
run
be
if
accused
you
of
don't
skipping
have
his correspondence.
if you
I'm
don't
kidding.
have things to put on the agenda and you want to cancel the meeting. I'll be happy to bring you a list of agenda items that people send me every day. People on the Piedmont Info Network are always asking questions. There's lots of things to be talked about.
Are they personal messaging you on there?
They
Yes.
do, yes. I get lots of messages and personal visits from people.
Everything all right?
Anybody else have any correspondence?
I have some, but I'll save it on down there for the officers' reports if everyone don't mind.
Okay.
The only correspondence I had, I got the equipment proposal list back from Dunn today. It will be approved, it should be finalized in 2 weeks. When they finalize it, Dunn will work with us on getting the equipment into it. And at this time, I turned the list over to sewer commissioner and street commissioner here.
I've got a watch here. You can take it home and look over it and
And
review it.
I wasn't about to read it because I think we used it at Sherwood Forest and then
Paul, you have any correspondence? No. Okay, officers report. Start with you, Brent, and start with you, Paul.
That's down up there.
Okay.
Okay.
I've got a lot of correspondence and emails and everything else that's been going back and forth. Everywhere from Manchin's office to McKinley and other legislative people such as some of the other senators that are out of our region that are willing to listen to some of the things that we have. First off, in talking to Johnny Amoruso and Eric Clay, Marcus Clay and Eric Clay,
Okay.
I was getting to Marcus, that we can get, I have a verbal confirmation for a right to enter to our draw-off tunnel up at the Savage River. There's a lot of things going on there that's going to prevent us from going on to that Savage River water. First off, during this whole procedure, the paper mill is going to have us get our pipeline off the bridge. Therefore, we have to either tunnel under the river or find another way to get the pipeline off the bridge. We are continuing to work on the Savage River draw-off. Now that we have a confirmation for a right to entry, we can go in there and do some things, but we're actually preparing a pipeline that's going to go nowhere at the end of the day. You know, all this stuff is wishful thinking that it's best, but in reality, it's the worst. So we got to look at reality better than what everybody thinks we ought to do. We're pretty much going to go on Western Port water. That's the only way that it's going to get funded. As far as coming under the river, we can get we have the potential of getting 100% grant. That's after the going level rate, Danny, like we had before over there, the meeting. And there is going to be some people from Steptoe and Johnson, which are the lawyers. And there's going to be some people from Michael Griffith Associates, who is our accountant for this thing. It's under a 219W, under the going water rate level, 1822, and 2019W, 1836. This is all put out to the IJDC, and wherever we go from there, it's all about funding now. Now, there's a lot of things we could do if the paper mill wasn't in our way. We could put another draw-off up ahead of the paper mill, but there's no place to come over on the West Virginia side. And such as you mentioned about the pollutants in the river, that is a big point on us ever getting a draw off in the Potomac River because we would have to come below the paper mill. So the people that are from the EPA and the DEP are suggesting that we stay above the paper mill, but there's no place to put it. We could go, and the paper mill even offered to give us an easement to put a line in right where their pump station is. However, on the West Virginia side, there's the lime kiln over there. There's the all the pipes and stuff that's coming from the Kingsford. And with all that putting away, there ain't no engineer going to touch even horizontal boring underneath there to get us over to where we need to be. And to get over on the other side of the tracks, the terrain's just too rough for anybody to fund because they're always worried about landslides. So there's some other things that that we also went through. On 11/4 at 1:30, we had a meeting here at the hall with Congressman McKinley and discussed this whole thing. We first talked about the river intake. We talked about a well. We talked about the raw water line coming down from the Savage. And the big thing was a population decline in Piedmont. In 1940, Piedmont had 2,700 people. In 2010, according to the census, we had 876 people. This decline isn't a plus for us in going forward with any kind of project to keep our water plant open or anything else. The suggestion is for us to go on Western Port clear water. And we can't get on the 2020 budget for the Army Corps of Engineers. We had all kind of congressional intervention and everything else, but the pot of money has already been allocated as of October. Well, actually, their budget kicked in October, but these people were on the budget prior to October of 2018. We are on the budget for 2020, wherever that goes, but if we get funding to put the water underneath the river, that may not materialize. However, you know, we're all looking for the brighter side of things, but it just ain't there. Once we get the money for going under the river, I think the project as far as funding is stopped. I don't know that yet, but I'm still filing all the paperwork with the Army Corps of Engineers. We filed for a 404 and a 401 permit that would permanently give us the right to clean out the draw off up there, or the intake, whatever you want to call it. We've done studies on everything. There's been 4 different agencies that's worked on this as far as doing the studies. And the studies all come back saying that it's more valuable for us to go on Western Port water. So, with that said, we're looking toward possibly 100% funding to go under the river and connect to the line. But we're going to need funding to replace all the new water meters in town and all that. That's also going to be on a separate project. That's on this one that we filed here for 2019 W/1836. Where that goes, I don't know, but it looks like 100% funding to come under the river. Now, we had negotiations and back and forth emails with Jonathan Fowler from the IJDC and the USDA and the DEP. Western Port wants to charge us $1.05 per 1,000 gallons. That comes out to, if we use 100,000 gallons of water, to $105 per day. 30.5 days in a month comes out to $3,202.50 just for water that we pay Western Port for that part. Now, we're trying to do some negotiations with everybody and Westernport and the IJDC to try to get some negotiations going on to where we flush fire hydrants. If we flush fire hydrants, that's going to cost us $114 every time we flush, and that's twice a year. Fires in town, we don't know what that's going to be, but if we go on Westernport water, we're going to have basically the fire hydrants are going to be on clear water, and we're going to be paying for it. We don't know if we can get a break on that or whatever. The contract's never been negotiated all the way through. We really don't know what's totally going to be entailed, other than the facts of what I'm saying right now, the $1.05 per 1,000 gallons and the cost for that. We're trying to get, go ahead.
And didn't McKinley tell us to try to get covenants with them?
Covenants, yeah, I was getting to that,
Okay, I'm sorry.
but the covenants is basically the contract.
Yeah.
So, that's the whole thing in a nutshell on the contract. But we're trying to get into that Westernport uses our pool as well as the children from Piedmont to try to help us out a little bit as far as a cut rate on when we fill the pool, when we flush the fire hydrants, and if we have a fire in town. I'm not a big fan of going on Westernport water, but it is coming from the Savage, and it is treated water. But, you know, that doesn't make it any harder to swallow, or easier to swallow, I guess you could say. We've, with our declining population, all of the other things that's going on, and our medium household income, as I've been preaching for the last 4 or 5 years, the medium household income is the same as the Cumberland Valley here in Piedmont. And I've tried to change that. I went through almost everybody that I could think of to call or shake the bush on any kind, but no answers saying that they're going to do anything. You know, I went to a meeting with the Attorney General. The Attorney General had nothing that he could offer. So, let's see what else I have. Some of the things that we're trying to do under that 1836 contract to replace existing water meters, billing and computer upgrade, a dedicated computer for the water project, telemetry on the clear well. We have 3 different tanks. We have the clear well, it's 185,000 gallons. We have Murphy Street, it's 44,000 gallons. The main tank is 284,000 gallons. And the storage tanks also need mixers in them if we're going to have this clear water coming into them, that they don't stagnate out. But of course, as much water as we move, we're going to be turning that 20% every 24 hours over anyhow. We're still going to have a water distribution manager, whether we have a water plant operator or not. That's still another added cost. So our cost isn't going to change that much, other than the fact that we will not be using as many chemicals. But other than that, our cost and all is going to be pretty much the same. We've been meeting with the people from Verso, trying to figure out exactly what's going on. We have a cutback in our water supply right now. We are getting clear water from Verso, but we're only getting 80 gallons a minute. That is a big cost to us because of the slowdown, having a person up there watching water trickle in. That's not a good thing, but nevertheless, it's there. The 3 members of all of the other 3 agencies said no, that they won't fund anything else other than us going on Westernport Water. And they won't put any upgrades into our water plant or making any connections to raw water. So, you know, we got the best of two evils. Do we run out of water? Or do we do what the funding agencies will allow us to do? Nobody wants to be without water. I don't, and I don't want to see any of the citizens of Piedmont being without water. But we're gonna have to make a decision. We're gonna have to stop wishing for something to happen and start making things happen. So, this whole thing's going to be up in a public meeting here very soon, because we are going to have to put an ordinance out there in order to get the funding on the roll. So you'll be seeing that here soon. We will have John Stump and Dixie Kilmeyer here to explain everything and give you a little bit more insight on what all of these costs entail and why they're there. So that's basically all I got.
Where are you going under the river, Ben?
I want to go over there by where our water line is now, coming across the wooden bridge. That'll give us an option of getting back on the Savage Water. If we come over here, we don't have that option. And I'm trying to get it pushed over there, and the people were telling me they're gonna do, or we're going to end up probably doing what's most cost efficient. And you know, we don't have a $1,800,000 to put into this project. So we're at the funding agency's mercy. And I don't like it anywhere better than anybody else, but here we are. We're in this situation, and Denny brought up just a while ago. This happened 20 years ago, that the dam was destroyed. We were taken off of our raw water. That's something that we didn't make. We inherited.
Do we already got permission to go under the river?
I filed the permits, but I filed for them under a national coverage permit. I never got an answer out of them yet. Of course, they only been filed since today's Wednesday. They only been filed since Friday of last week. Such as I mentioned here when we first started out, that I did file for the pension or the permits, and hopefully the right of entry up in Savage. But our right of entry up there, such as Johnny Amoruso and Marcus and Ernie and I was here, we discussed on what we could do up there. We can do some things up there, but we're putting all of our eggs in a basket up there in a pipeline that goes nowhere. And that's about the story.
Okay, thank you.
Denny, you got any questions?
I don't right now, thanks.
Okay.
Rick?
We don't have a lot. We are trying to just keep up with the road, and we got salt in. Like I said, we're gonna get prepared for winter, but Ernie had to get new wiring and stuff for the salt spreader, so it's back up and running. Other than that, I really don't have much unless Ernie's got more.
I'll cover it in my report to you.
Okay. Paul?
I'll talk about when we get to the audit information.
Okay. Okay, Ernie?
Let's see here, all the council members and mayor should have a copy of this report. Anybody wants one, they're more than welcome to them. That's what we produce, what our water loss was.
And we'll be discussing that under that.
We ended up replacing the entire sewer line up at Miller's. It was terracotta that was busted. We replaced it, all new line out to the main. and everything's working good up there now. It's been said Verso's put us over on their potable water as of 10:30. They took us off the raw water where we were getting 300 plus gallon a minute, put us over on the potable water, which is about 80 gallon a minute. We're down to running one filter at a time at a reduced rate. Our pump times went up from 2 to 4 hours to 8, 9, 10 hours a day. We had both dump trucks were down, the salt truck, the spreader motor wire burnt in half, so we had to order a new one and rebuild that. Our blue dump truck that we use as a runabout to haul asphalt and stuff, when we were cleaning up at Miller's, brake line busted. And that's all I got on my report this time.
I got two things I forgot, if I could step in there for just a minute. Okay, with the IJDC, the funding agencies, and Region 8, we're trying to set up meetings where we can have a meeting at least once every 2 weeks on where this project is going and what the thoughts are on it. We did submit a new proposal into the IJDC earlier yesterday on the going level water rate, and also in order to get these two things funded, 1822 and 1836, they've been sent into Charleston to go through the 4 funding agencies to look at, and we'll have an answer on them in a couple of weeks probably. Sorry, I forgot that.
Are they gonna come here for the meetings like they used to?
IJDC people,
No, the
Region 8 people.
Region 8, they used to come here like once a month when we had Thrasher and they would come here and talk about the project and the funding and different things, and we haven't seen them for a while. I just wondered if they
Well,
would just
Thrasher
come
is
here.
not our engineering group anymore.
But I mean, no, but I'm saying the IJ, we're still dealing with the Region 8 and the IJDC. Are they gonna meet here and
I've
tell us
asked-
at a public meeting?
I've
on these
asked them to
things?
come, and I haven't seen anyone yet. They were asked to come to the meeting tonight. And
But I mean, that's the plan.
Yeah, we would like to.
that is the plan, to try to keep in touch with everybody. And Danny, I agree with you 100% about communications, but if there's no communications there, you gotta rattle bushes till you get it.
True.
And what you were thinking about when IJDC and the engineers were here, that usually happens during a project while a project is going on. They're in here to give updates and reports.
Right, but they
During
were
the
also
project,
asking
but
us for
once
some
it's
future
done-
projects too.
They were here on the preliminary planning a bit too.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
anyway, I mean, I was just asking
Yeah,
if they plan on
they,
hearing
then after that's
hopefully
done,
will.
they don't come in anymore until the
Right.
next project.
Right, and now we're talking about this water project, so I was thinking
Well-
that they might be coming.
They will be in when right now, nobody knows what we're doing. I mean, like I said, it's time to start wishing for something to happen and make things happen. And the way we're gonna make it happen is to get on Western Port's water, and we can't do without water. We can look to the future and try to utilize our assets that we have, but where it goes, if we can get on the Corps of Engineers 2021 budget, we may be able to react a little differently. But 2021 is out there.
Yeah.
We need water in 2020.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
All right, I'm sorry. I get too long-winded sometimes.
Okay, the unfinished business, the 16-17 audit. That's a
We did have our audit, and Ferrari and Associates out of Morgantown come in here and did the audit. And of course they found some things, and this is all public knowledge. Everybody can take a look at our audit and see what was found, and everybody in here has already had a chance to look at it. We had some things that we had to work on. Nothing I don't think that was that bad. I think it actually was fairly good. But there's some things that we can improve on, and we will improve on.
And things we can is, like I said, we don't have enough people.
Yeah, that's one of the things
staff's
that they hit you on, and then the guy told me that they hit most communities with that very same thing. We have 2 people in the office. Some communities have 1 person in the
Right,
office.
and you don't have the segregation of duties.
Right.
And they write
right.
you up on that, but you
Right.
can't hire somebody just to.
What do you do? So we were hit on a couple things like that. And he did suggest, and I agree 100%, and I'd like to pursue it and get an okay with the city council, is that we get an auditor in here, or if not an auditor, an accountant, to come in here like once a year and sit down with us and look through our books and just make sure that everything is so-so. But this was 16 and 17. We'll do 17 and 18 on January the 6th. And then we'll be up to date. But I think the next, it will show the improvement that we know we're going to see, because at that point in time we went over on QuickBooks.
Yeah.
So everything's really organized and should be in really good shape, and they kind of stated that. But Ferrari will be back in here January 6th, and they'll complete that. But we have a bill from them for the first audit, $67.50. So I don't know how you want to handle that, Paula, but they're looking for payment for that.
Bad buildings announcement. We put that on there.
Probably Susie, and she was supposed to be off, but got called to work.
Is there another meeting scheduled? Do you know?
I don't know. I wasn't at the last meeting.
I know the gentleman that owns the Felstein building, the big building on the corner, called today.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked to Phil for a while, and he is going to pay the taxes, and he is planning on coming back and trying to do something with it.
Well, he needs to get over here and do it.
He said he wants us to see if there's a place he can live around here until we can do something, which is going to probably be 10 years. But he did call today, and he still has an interest in the building and fixing it up or straightening it out and get the front part taken off of it. The dangerous part.
Well, if a guy had $200,000 to put into that building, it would be a nice building. It's structurally sound.
Yeah,
But
it's just
To put a roof-
deteriorated. Yeah,
to put a roof on, it's $30,000 probably.
Easy.
yeah.
I'd like to say something else too, Paul.
Okay.
As far as the finances, there's no secrets in here, Denny. And especially, I'm financial commissioner, not that I'm any better than anybody else. There will not be any secrets. And whatever the city has and whatever the city does is public information.
But you know, they
But-
don't even told us you were the finance
It's-
commissioner.
Well, I'm the
I mean, I
finance
just
commissioner now.
I'm glad
Give
you
me-
are. I'm glad
Good to know.
and
Well,
it,
give me
it's nice to know.
time to kind of get that. I think we're getting there, and I think things are looking better. You want to see a financial report? I want to give a financial report. I'm not going to give a report on something that somebody else did. You know what I'm saying?
No,
If somebody else could do a better job than me, you're welcome to sit in this seat. Yeah, I'll step down, I'll move aside. You want to be financial commissioner? Here you go. But I will give financial report, and there is no secrets as far as the finances. You come in here and ask or look or whatever, it's all right here. It's public knowledge.
I've had to submit FOIA requests to get information about the finances here. And I
And
don't like
when-
bothering the ladies with those.
When
It'd be
was
much
that?
nicer if the finance information was in a little binder somewhere where everybody could get to it.
Well, hopefully should be in that position. And if
That'd
we're
be
not,
great.
we'll be in that
That would
position
be
where
great.
all the financial information is right here and available to anybody who walks in the door and wants to
That would be
see
great.
the city's finances. Every check that's spent, we have reports like that, the profit and loss statements,
We'd love
but
to
I'm
see.
still new,
right.
so for me to interpret that and give you
Well, it's not
information
easy.
that
we
I'm
got
not.
profit and loss statements before, and they're not easy to interpret.
Yeah, I know they're not, so I'm
We're
not
trying
going
to.
to read something like that, I'm not stupid, that I don't know what I'm reading.
No, we don't want you to just read.
No,
something
I'm
like that.
not gonna do that.
Good. Thanks.
But, there's no secrets, and definitely, if I'm financial commissioner, there won't be no secrets. There is no secrets.
Well, Kaiser said, they told us one time at a meeting that they have a book, that you guys said anybody can come in and they have a book in Kaiser with their finances and anybody could walk in there. I mean, that's how it's supposed to be, the Open Governments Act. So, I mean,
Well,
that would be a good
That'd be a
thing.
good way to do it.
I know you can't do it right away, but it would be nice
Well,
to have
we-
everything when you come in
We
sometime in the
work
future.
towards doing things like that, that's what I wanna do.
Right, and I
I
think
want,
more
I want
people
to
have
give
to
a
help.
report, I want, there's no secrets, again, excuse me. But even as far as the audit, you wanna know what the audit was all about, you can read it. There's nothing hidden here. It's all public knowledge, public information. That's the way it's supposed to be, and that's the way it is. So, yeah, like I say, you can see every check that was spent here, the balance of each and every account.
I don't think there's any secrets, we just don't know, we haven't had the opportunity to look or know anything, so, I mean, I think it's good that we're gonna be going from here forward, it's great.
Okay, but the statement was made that you don't get no financial reports, that's what I'm
Right.
answering. So,
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Alright. New business. To vote on meeting November 27th.
Yeah, I think that we ought to move the meeting to November 26th due to the fact that the holiday's coming up on Thursday. And I'm planning on going out of town on Wednesday afternoon for the weekend. And I make a motion that we move to November 26th instead of November 27th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. The IRS payoff is what we've been talking about with all the funding agencies. They are leery on giving us money because we do have the IRS payments. And they're thinking that if we get money that the IRS will pull the money away from us. We have the payments down, the balance is down to $16,202.19. And I was talking with the Kathy Beveridge from M&T Bank. She's working on it right now if a motion is made to do it, to get a loan from them, to get it off the IRS, and that would clear us for the funding agencies. She's working on it right now. She's talking to her boss of M&T to see, well, how would you say no interest? How'd you put that?
It's either no interest or loan forgiveness.
Okay.
Or interest forgiveness, let me put it that way. We will still have to pay the loan back. The actual loan with the IRS, the debt with the IRS is almost the same as it is with the bank. but with the IRS, it's hindering us
Yeah, that's what's.
on, under Rule 42, and our medium household income
Right.
group is saying that we owe IRS, so why should we change anything else? The USDA also brought that up. So,
So I'm just asking for a motion that I can tell Kathy to go ahead and look into getting us a loan for that, so we can get that paid off and be,
I will make a motion that we go to M&T Bank, make a loan to pay off the IRS, and move us forward so we're not a credit, so we don't have any delinquency in the funding agencies.
Did Kathy give us an idea what?
well,
Kind of what
we
they
couldn't
were
make a
looking at.
decision until we brought it here. I gave her the amount and she told me to let her know if we passed it, to let her look into it. But the last time I asked her for when we didn't know if we were gonna have any funding, she said her boss said that he would gladly like to help the city out, so she didn't see a problem. But I gave her the figure and I'm supposed to call her tomorrow and to tell her to pursue it or not pursue it. So I got a motion for Ben. Do I have a second? Paul. All in favor? Opposed?
I would like to mention that when, in our meeting with Congressman McKinley, he did bring that up.
Yeah.
About it would be better for us to pay that loan off and not have it sticking in our side during the processes of going through this.
Because
We have-
everybody we went to said that was one of the problems, was
Right.
that debt.
Even though we're making payments on it, and
It's,
it's just.
once they hear we have a payment plan, they're better with it,
Right.
but they would rather us not have that debt with the IRS because they can.
This
We
all-
just got Carl Wilt paid off Tuesday, and the trouble was they kept putting it off because they were afraid if they gave us the money that the IRS would take it. But then when we sent them proof that we was on a payment plan and it was being paid on time, they went ahead and paid that, and Carl Wilt is now paid. So,
Well, that's a blessing.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's a blessing.
Okay.
No, this will be interest free too, right?
No,
Okay, that's,
no, but it's approximately the same interest that we're paying now.
okay. So the payment will pretty much stay the same or will it lower?
It depends on how, but we
It will
don't,
probably be a little lower because we set it higher for the IRS to try to get it paid off. It depends on what Kathy comes up with. She'll come up with,
Well, could we-
we'll have to bring that back to the council, what she brings to us.
I just, as long as we keep it the same,
Yeah.
paying off fast.
Oh, it won't be, yeah.
Lower it. Okay, all right.
And you guys gotta get a Christmas tree.
Yeah,
Got that?
how big you want?
I don't care. Tree lighting will be the 5th, December 5th. What did we have at 6:30 last year, right
Yeah.
before the parade?
About 6:30.
Did the congressman suggest we go this route? I'm talking about as far as.
the
We
congressman,
go to the bank and.
the congressman
Okay.
To
suggested
get rid of the debt.
that we
We
get
need
rid
to
of
get rid of the
the debt.
debt.
This hinders us, for low interest loans or zero grants. When you're looking at even a grant, they don't wanna see you have this backlog of debt,
Yeah.
especially with the IRS.
IRS. Every funding meeting we went to, that's one of the first questions they asked. So we had to have, always had to have the proof that we were making the payment plan.
And I would like to bring this up, that all the checks were signed,
Yes,
but not sent on this IRS.
because I knew
Yes.
that she kept getting me to sign these checks, and when Carrie and Phil was going through the boxes for this audit, all the checks that I signed were signed by me but not sent in. Because when they said we had that debt, I couldn't believe it because I remembered signing the 941 checks. They were getting me to sign them, making me believe that they were being sent,
And me too.
and they were tucking them away and not paying them. Because when they said that, I said, I remember signing checks every quarter.
That don't make any sense at all.
No, it does not.
But that's water over
Yeah.
the dam, we gotta move forward. We
And
gotta get our head above water and we're getting there.
Yeah.
You know,
We're getting there.
You know that when we first took over this administration, this place was like $70,000 in debt. Those trucks were financed to the hilt and everything else. We managed to pay them all off and get to where we're at today. And then we find out about this IRS thing, and that was a kick in the.
I'm sure it was.
So let's move forward. We got a good bunch of girls in here now. They're doing things right. But they got Big Brother looking over their shoulder too.
Right. And I think the audit was showing us that we're moving in the right direction.
Right.
Yes, we're
Try
ready
to.
there.
We can always use help.
We have a problem, yes.
We can always use help.
Okay, and the ladies also made a suggestion that we give out coloring pages at the tree lighting for the children and decorate the city building with colored, the kids' artwork. So I printed some out, so we could do that. And I also called the electric company for the 6th time about the street light up in front of Ducky's. And they said, hopefully within 3 days, but they've been saying that since September.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were supposed to be up water plant to cut that tree off the electric line up there today, and they haven't been there yet.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
So the meeting is set for the 26th.
The next meeting will be Tuesday, November 26th at 6 o'clock. Motion for adjournment.
I make a motion we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried, meeting adjourned.